The human body is the most advanced machine ever built, and you were never given the manual until now. Right now, 37 trillion cells are working to keep you alive, and almost nobody knows how. Your body rebuilds itself every single day, whether you help it or destroy it. Somewhere inside you, right now, a construction project is underway. It never stops. It has no weekends, no holidays, no lunch breaks. Cells are dividing, tissue is repairing, chemicals are moving through channels too small to see, and none of it asks for your permission. This is the human body, the single most advanced machine ever produced, and almost nobody reads the manual. We are going to read it today. For most of history, the body was a mystery wrapped in guesswork. Ancient healers blended plants and prayed over wounds. Physicians bled patients to balance invisible fluids they called humors. It took thousands of years and millions of quiet failures before humans finally understood what was actually happening beneath the skin. Now we know. We have the science, we have the data. And yet, in an age with more health information than any generation in history has ever had access to, more people are overweight, undernourished, sleep-deprived, and chronically fatigued than ever before. Knowledge exploded. Discipline collapsed. Consider the sheer scale of what is running beneath your skin at this exact moment. Roughly 37 trillion cells, each one a tiny factory, coordinating without a single meeting, without a single memo. Your heart will beat somewhere near 3 billion times across an average lifetime, without ever once being told to. Your liver filters toxins continuously. Your kidneys process nearly 200 liters of blood every single day. And your immune system runs constant surveillance against threats you will never consciously notice. No factory built by human hands approaches this level of coordination, and it runs on nothing more than food, water, sleep, and movement. This is the story of what a truly healthy body requires, stripped of fads, stripped of supplements sold by influencers, and rebuilt from the actual biology underneath. Start with movement, because movement is the oldest instruction your body was ever given. For nearly all of human history, survival demanded motion. Early humans walked for miles tracking prey, climbed for food, carried water, built shelter with their own hands. The body did not evolve to sit, it evolved to move, and it built an entire internal reward system around that fact. When muscle tissue is placed under load, microscopic tears form along the fibers. This sounds like damage, and in a sense it is, but it is damage the body was built to answer. Satellite cells rush to the site of the tear and begin repairing it, and they do not simply patch the hole, they overbuild it, laying down slightly more tissue than existed before, because a body preparing for the next challenge is a body preparing to survive it. This is the entire secret behind strength. It is not punishment, it is a conversation between stress and recovery, repeated patiently over months and years. Resistance training remains one of the most studied interventions in all of medicine, and the results are almost absurd in their consistency. Stronger muscles support joints and reduce injury. Denser bones resist fracture into old age. Improved insulin sensitivity protects against diabetes. Even mood regulation improves, because lifting recruits the same neurochemical pathways that antidepressants attempt to influence pharmaceutically. A single hour in a gym touches nearly every system the body owns. The skeleton itself tells a similarly quiet story of adaptation. Bone is not the static, dead structure most people imagine. It is living tissue, constantly dissolved and rebuilt in a cycle called remodeling, and the rate of that rebuilding depends directly on the mechanical stress placed upon it. Astronauts in zero gravity lose bone density at an alarming rate within weeks, because without load, the body sees no reason to invest in strength. The same principle applies on Earth. A sedentary lifestyle quietly signals to the skeleton that density is unnecessary, and the skeleton, being efficient above all else, complies. Cardiovascular training tells a different but complementary story. The heart is a muscle too, and like any muscle, it grows more efficient under demand. A trained heart pumps more blood per beat, meaning it beats fewer times to deliver the same oxygen. Elite endurance athletes often carry resting heart rates in the low 40s, a heart so efficient it can nearly idle. This efficiency extends life expectancy in ways few interventions can match. Large population studies following participants for decades consistently find that moderate cardiovascular activity, as little as 30 minutes most days, reduces early mortality risk dramatically, on par with quitting smoking. Behind all of this sits a structure smaller than anything visible under an ordinary microscope, the mitochondria, often called the power plants of the cell. Every single movement, every heartbeat, every thought passing through a neuron draws its energy from these microscopic structures, converting oxygen and nutrients into usable fuel. Aerobic training does something remarkable here. It does not just strengthen the heart, it multiplies the number of mitochondria inside muscle cells, effectively expanding the body's total energy-generating capacity. This is part of why trained individuals feel more energetic throughout an ordinary day, not just during exercise itself. The very currency of vitality is being manufactured in greater supply. But movement alone cannot build a healthy body if the fuel behind it is wrong. And this is where the modern world quietly sabotaged itself. For most of human existence, food was scarce, seasonal, and earned for effort. The body developed a brilliant survival mechanism in response, a powerful drive toward calorie-dense food whenever it appeared, because starvation was always one bad season away.
That drive never disappeared. It simply met an environment it was never designed for, one where calorie-dense food is available at every corner, every hour, engineered specifically to override natural fullness signals. Protein deserves particular attention because it is the literal building block of the repair process described earlier. Every muscle fiber torn during training needs amino acids to rebuild, and without sufficient protein intake, that rebuilding stalls, regardless of how hard the training was. Research consistently points toward roughly 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight daily for anyone training seriously, spread across meals rather than consumed all at once, since the body can only process so much at a given sitting. Protein itself is only useful once broken down into its component amino acids, some of which the body can manufacture internally and 9 of which it cannot produce at all and must obtain entirely through food. These are appropriately named the essential amino acids, and a deficiency in even one of them limits the entire repair process, regardless of how much total protein is consumed. This is precisely why complete protein sources, eggs, meat, fish, dairy, and combinations such as rice and beans remain so heavily emphasized by sports scientists and dietitians alike. Carbohydrates carry an unfair reputation in modern nutrition culture, largely because refined versions, white bread, sugary drinks, ultra-processed snacks, spike blood sugar rapidly and then crash it, leaving hunger and fatigue in their wake. Whole carbohydrates behave entirely differently. Oats, whole grains, legumes, and fruit release their sugar slowly, feed the brain consistently, and fuel the muscles for the very training that builds them. The enemy was never carbohydrates themselves, it was the industrial processing that stripped away their fiber and their nutrients, leaving behind something closer to pure sugar wearing a costume. Fat suffered a similar fate for decades, wrongly blamed for heart disease in studies that later proved deeply flawed. We now understand that fat is essential for hormone production, brain structure, and the absorption of several vitamins. The distinction that actually matters is between whole food fats, like those found in fish, nuts, and olive oil, and industrially created trans fats, which remain genuinely harmful and are steadily being banned across the world. Hydration might be the most underestimated variable in this entire equation. The brain is roughly 75% water, and even mild dehydration measurably reduces concentration, mood, and physical performance. Most people walk through their entire day in a state of low-grade dehydration without ever recognizing the fatigue and irritability it quietly produces. There is one more nutritional actor that modern research keeps returning to, and it lives inside the gut rather than on the plate. Trillions of bacteria populate the digestive tract, and far from being passive passengers, they influence digestion, immune regulation, and even mood through direct communication with the brain along what researchers call the gut-brain axis. A diet rich in fiber, vegetables, and fermented foods feeds beneficial bacterial populations, while heavily processed diets starve them, allowing less favorable strains to dominate instead. Emerging studies increasingly link an unhealthy gut microbiome to inflammation, anxiety, and metabolic disease, suggesting that some of what we have long called a gut feeling may be closer to literal biology than metaphor. Now, consider what happens after the workout ends and the meal is finished, because the body does its most important work while you are unconscious. Sleep is not downtime. It is an active, highly orchestrated repair operation, and modern life has quietly turned it into the most neglected pillar of health. During deep sleep, growth hormone release peaks, driving the very tissue repair that resistance training initiated hours earlier. During REM sleep, the brain consolidates memory, processes emotion, and clears out metabolic waste through a recently discovered cleansing system called the glymphatic pathway. Skip sleep, and none of this repair work fully completes. The data on sleep deprivation is genuinely alarming. A single night of significant sleep restriction measurably reduces insulin sensitivity, effectively creating a temporary pre-diabetic state in an otherwise healthy person. Chronic short sleep, defined as consistently under 6 hours, correlates with elevated risk of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and impaired immune function. Researchers have found that sleep-deprived individuals produce a weaker antibody response to vaccination, meaning the immune system itself depends on adequate rest to function at full strength. Sleep also unfolds in distinct stages across the night, each with a different job. The earlier hours favor deep, slow-wave sleep, when the body prioritizes physical repair and growth hormone release. The later hours shift toward REM, when the brain does most of its emotional processing and memory consolidation. Cutting a night short doesn't simply remove a proportional slice of benefit. It disproportionately removes the REM-heavy stages toward morning, precisely the stages responsible for emotional regulation and mental clarity the following day. This is part of why a short, fragmented night can leave someone feeling physically rested but mentally foggy and emotionally raw. Stress completes this picture because the mind and the body were never separate systems to begin with, only two names for one interconnected process. When a threat appears, real or imagined, the body releases cortisol, a hormone perfectly designed for short bursts of danger. It sharpens focus, floods the bloodstream with glucose for energy, and prepares muscles for immediate action. This response saved our ancestors from predators. The problem is that modern stress rarely resolves the way a predator encounter resolves. Traffic, deadlines, financial pressure, and constant notifications keep cortisol elevated for months or years at a time, and a hormone built for emergencies was never designed to run continuously.
Chronically elevated cortisol suppresses immune function, disrupts sleep architecture, encourages fat storage specifically around the abdomen, and even shrinks regions of the brain associated with memory. The body cannot distinguish between a genuine crisis and a stressful email, so it responds to both with the same ancient alarm system. The encouraging discovery within stress research is that the nervous system can be deliberately trained back toward calm. Slow, controlled breathing activates the vagus nerve, directly lowering heart rate and shifting the body out of its alert state. Regular movement metabolizes stress hormones the way they were originally intended to be used, through physical exertion. Even brief exposure to nature measurably lowers cortisol levels within minutes, a finding replicated across dozens of independent studies worldwide. There is a quieter, longer-term consequence of unmanaged stress that deserves particular attention, and that is inflammation. A small amount of inflammation is healthy and necessary, the immediate response that helps a wound heal or an infection clear. But chronic stress keeps this response switched on at a low simmer for years, And researchers now consider this simmering, low-grade inflammation a common thread running through heart disease, certain cancers, diabetes, and even depression. It rarely announces itself with obvious symptoms. It simply erodes the body's systems quietly, 1 year at a time, until a diagnosis finally makes it visible. Zoom out far enough, and all of this converges on a single question researchers now spend entire careers chasing. Why do some people reach 90 with sharp minds and steady legs, while others decline decades earlier? Longevity researchers studying so-called blue zones, regions of the world with unusually high concentrations of centenarians, keep arriving at the same unglamorous answer. It is rarely one dramatic factor. It is daily movement built into ordinary life, diets centered on plants and legumes, strong social connection, and a clear sense of purpose that gives people a reason to get up in the morning well into old age. There is no anti-aging injection in these communities. There is only consistency, repeated for decades without interruption. What emerges from all of this is not a list of separate habits, but a single interconnected system. Movement builds the tissue that nutrition must fuel. Nutrition provides the energy that sleep uses to repair. Sleep restores the nervous system that manages stress. Stress, left unmanaged, undermines the sleep, appetite, and motivation required for movement in the first place. Every pillar leans on every other pillar. There is no shortcut that bypasses this architecture, no single supplement or trending diet that replaces its structure. This is precisely why fad solutions fail so reliably. A pill cannot replace the biological work of moving under load. A trending diet cannot replace consistent, adequate protein intake sustained over years. No amount of willpower can substitute for actual, sufficient sleep. The body simply does not negotiate with shortcuts. The blueprint, then, is almost disappointing in its simplicity, and that is precisely the point. Move your body under real resistance several times weekly. Walk often. Eat whole food. Prioritize protein, and stop fearing fat and whole carbohydrates. Drink water before thirst forces the issue. Protect 7 to 9 hours of sleep as seriously as any appointment on your calendar. Manage stress deliberately, through breath, through nature, through movement, rather than letting it manage you by default. None of this is complicated. None of it requires a laboratory, a prescription, or an expensive program. It requires only consistency, applied patiently across years rather than weeks. The body rewards patience more reliably than almost anything else in life, because it was quite literally built by nature to reward exactly that. You are not separate from your body. You are the sum of what it repairs, what it is fed, how it rests, and how it recovers from the pressures placed upon it. Every generation before us solved this equation with less information than we now carry in a single search bar. They ate what grew nearby, moved because moving was the only option, slept when darkness fell, and rarely questioned any of it. We have inherited their biology unchanged, dropped into an environment engineered to work against nearly every instinct that biology relies on. The blueprint was never lost. It was simply buried beneath convenience, and uncovering it again is now quite literally an act of returning home. Build accordingly, and the body will carry you further than you ever imagined possible.